Hey there, it's Deanne. How are you? All right, today we're going to talk about something really exciting. This is all about appetite regulation. Okay, we're really talking about hormones here. So, ghrelin, leptin, and GLP-1. So let's look at what appetite regulation actually involves. It involves hormones, it involves brain signaling, and metabolic systems. And they basically work together so we can balance our energy in the body. Okay, it's all about taking in enough energy, enough fuel, so we have energy to do the things that we need to do. Okay, so whenever we talk about energy or fuel, we get that from our food. So when we don't have enough energy or fuel, then the body knows it needs more food. Okay. Ghrelin is also considered the hunger hormone. Okay. It's produced in the stomach and it signals to the brain that we need energy, so we need food. Leptin is produced in the fat cells, and it kind of does the opposite thing. So, when we have enough fat preserves, when we have enough energy, it then tells the brain, you don't need to eat. Okay, because it prevents us from overeating. And then there's GLP-1, which is glucagon like peptide 1, and it's released by the intestines in response to food intake. And it helps reduce appetite by slowing down the emptying of the food out of the stomach and basically helping you feel full. Okay. And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. So let's go into each of the hormones. So, ghrelin, hunger hormone, released from the stomach mainly, also some from the small intestine, the pancreas, and the brain. So, when your stomach is empty, there's no more food in there, and your body needs fuel, ghrelin levels are going to rise. Those levels get into the bloodstream, they travel to your brain, and they say, hey, brain, we need food. We need fuel. So that helps ensure that you are going to maintain your energy levels and also to establish regular eating patterns. Now, leptin is produced by fat cells. So it regulates the feeling of fullness. It also regulates energy balance and it signals the brain when you've had enough energy so you don't need any more food, prevents you from overeating. Now, in obesity, there can be high levels of leptin that actually lead to leptin resistance. So there's so many fat cells and so much leptin that when the leptin goes up to the brain, for some reason the brain doesn't respond effectively. And then it doesn't turn off your hunger. So you continue to eat and you actually overeat. So let's look at leptin resistance a little bit deeper. So even though your body has enough fat and it's producing leptin, for some reason your brain doesn't get that message that it's full. It's like the brain stops listening to your body. This can develop because of obesity, inflammation, and high insulin levels. High insulin levels occur when you're eating a lot of sugar and a lot of processed food, and it just affects that signaling between the leptin and the brain. So when your brain doesn't respond to that signal, it causes you to still feel hungry even though you've eaten enough. And you continue to eat and you continue to eat and you don't get that full feeling. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but the ways to help your brain respond better are through eating a really healthy diet. So, not eating sugar, not eating all those processed foods, regular exercise, adequate sleep, and of course, reducing your stress levels or being able to maintain your stress so it's not affecting you. So let's look at glucagon like peptide 1. It's produced in the intestines when you eat food, and it helps the body manage blood sugar levels and it makes you feel full after eating. It slows down the emptying of the stomach, prolonging that sensation of fullness after meals. It stimulates insulin release from the pancreas in response to eating, so it helps lower blood glucose levels. It plays a very key role in regulating your weight. We have found in current research that people who are obese, they have actually low levels of this GLP, and that may be one reason why they continue to eat. All right, so let's get down. We're going to make this as easy as possible for you to understand. Your stomach is empty. So, ghrelin is going to be produced in the stomach. It is going to then move through the bloodstream to your brain and tell your brain, specifically the hypothalamus, that you need fuel, you need food. So, your brain then basically sends out those signals that you need to eat. You may get stomach grumbling. It stimulates your stomach and other areas to start releasing enzymes so you know that you are hungry. All right. So then once you eat, you've got food. We've talked all about this. You're eating food going through the mouth, through the esophagus, into the stomach, and it causes stretching in the stomach. So as you eat more and more food, there are receptors in the stomach lining that say, hey, the stomach is stretching. We've had enough food. So then that signals the brain that you've had enough to eat. So now you are going to feel full. So you slow down and stop eating. Now, you probably already are like, now I kind of understand things. We're going to talk about how this goes wrong for so many people. And that's why the foundation of what I talked about in the very first video is so important. So now we have GLP-1, and that is produced as the food enters the intestines. And this action basically really works to help the blood sugar levels and to allow our body to know that it's full and we don't need any more food. So while you eat, your fat cells actually release leptin into the bloodstream, and that signals the brain. High levels of leptin tell your brain that you have enough fat storage, you have enough energy stored, so you don't need any more food. Okay. And that is more of a long term effect compared to ghrelin and GLP because they happen much faster in a shorter period of time. The short term signals are when that stomach stretches, and then the GLP contributes to immediate feelings of fullness and reduced appetite. The long term regulation is the leptin, which helps maintain that long term appetite regulation based on how much fat you have in the body. So let's look at health issues that affect each one of these hormones. So let's start off with ghrelin. So, obesity. Ghrelin levels are often lower in those who have a healthy weight. So, despite lower levels, they may be more potent, leading to increased hunger and difficulty in losing weight. Now, if you have an eating disorder like anorexia nervosa or bulimia, that can affect these levels and it can cause them to, it basically throws off the cycle. Chronic stress can increase the secretion of ghrelin, and that can cause overeating, weight gain. Sleep deprivation can also cause issues. IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, can alter ghrelin secretion. You have to remember that ghrelin comes from the lining of the stomach. So if there's any issues with the cells in the lining of the stomach, then you may not be releasing enough ghrelin. Celiac disease, when you have an actual allergy to gluten, that can damage the small intestine. So it can disrupt the ghrelin production in the intestine. Type 2 diabetes, again, alters that ghrelin production. Stomach and pancreatic cancer also. So let's look at leptin levels. You're going to see that a lot of these same things that affect ghrelin affect leptin and GLP because they all work together. Obesity. High levels of body fat can lead to leptin resistance. We just talked about that. Toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, glyphosate, chemicals that are in our beauty products and our cleaning products, they can all accumulate in the body fat. That's one of the main places that toxins accumulate. And this inflammation affects the leptin signaling, leading to leptin resistance. Okay. And again, with that resistance, the brain just doesn't respond effectively when the leptin, reaches the brain and is supposed to tell the brain, hey, we're full. Chronic stress can lead to leptin resistance as well. Sleep deprivation, hypothyroidism can affect leptin production and sensitivity. So you often have weight gain and difficulty losing weight with hypothyroidism. Chronic inflammation, so things like rheumatoid arthritis or inflammatory bowel disease can also alter leptin levels. Same thing with type 2 diabetes. All right, GLP-1, type 2 diabetes. Often you have a reduced or impaired GLP response when you're diabetic. And we'll get a little bit more into this. That's why some of these medications work for type 2 diabetes. Obesity. Again, although the GLP may be increased in some obese individuals, the body just may not respond to it effectively. GI disorders like irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, they're all going to disrupt normal GI function, which will affect this release of this hormone. Metabolic syndrome, which is a cluster of conditions, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and excess body fat. And that can lead to dysregulation of the secretion of GLP-1. Aging, oftentimes we have lower levels secreted or we have a sensitivity. And diets. A diet high in processed food, in sugar, or low in fiber can affect GLP levels. There are a bunch of new medications out there. They're not that new, but medications out there that are GLP-1 receptor agonists. These drugs can mimic the action of natural GLP-1. So these drugs bind to the receptors, the GLP receptors in the body, and they can enhance the effects of GLP-1, including appetite suppression and improved blood glucose control. As you'll see, these are some of the medications that are given for diabetes. See, that makes sense because it helps improve blood glucose control. So these medications can reduce appetite, they can increase satiety, and they can help with weight loss. What happened is we were giving some of the medications to diabetics and they started really losing weight. And so now the drugs are given as a weight loss drug. So some of these examples, semaglutide, Wegovy, Ozempic, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity. The problem is they cost a lot of money. And the way that the conventional doctors are given these medications, they put you on the medication and they say you're on it for life, you're at higher doses, and there's also a lot of side effects. So this is just the way that some of these medications are given. Wegovy is injected weekly. Ozempic is injected weekly. Rybelsus is taken orally daily. Saxenda is injected daily. Victoza is injected daily, and Trulicity is injected weekly. So there's lots of different medications out there that do similar things. Common side effects of these medications. Again, these are medications that are given specifically for type 2 diabetes, but now people are taking them for weight loss. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain, extreme fatigue, headache, reduced hunger, so much so that people are getting inadequate nutrition. So they're getting nutrient deficiencies. And then early satiety. So they're feeling full after only eating a small amount. So those are a lot of the common effects, but then there's some more serious ones, but they're a little rarer. And that's pancreatitis. So that's inflammation of the pancreas, which can be very, very problematic. People can have severe abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting, and you need to get medical attention immediately. You can have gallstones. Long-term use of the medications can increase the risk of gallstones, and you can have kidney problems, especially for those who already have pre-existing kidney issues. And then there also have been some thyroid tumors. What is going on now in the functional medicine community is there's a lot more research being done on levels of GLP in people who are obese and a better way of giving these medications. I think these medications are great for people who have diabetes. I also think they're a good option for people who are morbidly obese and who have tried many, many things. Now, if you have not tried working with a functional medicine doctor, you have not gone to a nutritionist, you've only tried to diet on your own, I do not recommend going on these medications. I recommend doing more natural things to get to the root cause of the problem, because these medications are looking at one part of the problem. They're not looking at the big picture. So this can help in a way, but again, if you're not taking care of all the other issues behind the weight gain, then it's not going to give you the result, the lasting result that you want. But I just wanted to also let you know that this is out there. This is an option. It's called microdosing. So finding a practitioner who does microdosing of these medications, they're starting at much lower doses. What this does is, again, just like everything, there is no perfect dose for everyone out there. We are all individuals. We are all unique in what's going on with our bodies. And so starting at a very low dose and then working up slowly to see what works best for your body is always the best choice. This also can really prevent any of these common symptoms that are going to cause you to really need to get off the medication. Nausea, vomiting, feeling crappy, and having abdominal pain all the time. Those things prevent a lot of people from staying on the medications. So now let's look at natural ways to help with this whole appetite regulation. All the same things that we always talk about. Intentional eating is first and foremost. And this should make sense now because we have hormones in the body that are reacting to things. And then we have to give those hormones time to then be sent to the brain to send that hypothalamus signals, and then allow the brain to then send signals back out to the body. So with intentional eating, where you look at your food, you smell your food, you're eating slowly. So you're slowly filling up your stomach. So it's not getting stretched too quickly, but you're actually eating at a good rate so that stomach is stretching. And when it starts to stretch, then it can signal the brain. When we eat too fast, too much too fast, we're not really allowing that natural signaling to happen, those stretch receptors to actually get activated and then activate the brain. Eating at regular intervals. So if you're eating every hour or every 2 hours, you can see that the stomach is never going to be completely emptied. Ghrelin is released when the stomach is completely empty and fuel is necessary. So if you're eating throughout the day, all the time, then these hormones are not going to be doing their job. Eating healthy foods. So if you're eating mainly sugary foods, ultra processed foods all the time, it throws off these hormones. So eating fiber-rich foods, whole foods, real foods, fruits, vegetables, quinoa, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, it's definitely going to support healthy GLP levels and promote that fullness so you don't overeat. Healthy fats, olives, olive oil, nuts, seeds, salmon, avocados. They're all going to help regulate your leptin levels. Regular physical activity, that can be any kind of movement. So it doesn't have to be exercise. Sometimes we have a negative connotation to the word exercise. It's something that you have to schedule and go do. This is just movement. This is activity during the day. If you're at your desk most of the day, getting up and walking around, taking a break, doing some squats, lifting up your knees, just moving your body. Our bodies are meant to move. Going for a walk every single day is the perfect way to really help these hormones work efficiently. Getting adequate sleep. Now, I know sleep can be hard for some people, And that again is an important reason for you to work with a provider who can figure out why. You may need some magnesium. May need to turn off your brain. You need to learn to basically slow down at the end of the day so you can sleep. Nothing more important than stress management. So you're not reacting to stress, so you can respond. We're always going to have stress in our life. It just depends on how you respond to it. And there's certainly daily things you can do: mindfulness, breathing, meditation, yoga, qigong, all these things that are going to help you not react so you can get out of that sympathetic nervous system and move into that relax and digest parasympathetic nervous system. Hydration, drinking enough water a day. Most people do not do that. One of the easiest things is just to take your weight, divide it into half. That number is the ounces of water, the minimum ounces of water you should drink every day. If you're doing a lot of movement, if you're sweating a lot, then you want to increase that hydration. Lowering toxin exposure. So eating organic is going to lower the amount of glyphosate that is in your food. Eliminating plastic, nonstick pans that have Teflon. Using binders to remove already stored toxin. Binders like fiber and pectosol. There are many binders out there, activated charcoal, that can slowly pull things out of your body that shouldn't be there. Having fun, doing things that you love, laughter, love, joy, that all helps reduce your stress. That can promote the release of these positive hormones like serotonin and dopamine. And in turn, that helps balance these appetite regulating hormones. Okay. This is the information that I wanted to give you about appetite regulation. These three hormones that you may have or may not have heard anything about. I wanted to help you understand what goes on in the body when you eat and when you don't eat. That you have hormones that are telling your brain if you need food and if you don't. So if you're not giving your body the chance to do what it does best, then you are throwing this system off. So, again, I think one of the main things that I really want you to get out of this is to eat intentionally, to eat slowly, to sit down, to not be doing anything else when you eat. Allow the food to move through the stomach, allow it to be broken down, allow it to keep moving. And then once you've stopped eating, and then you're not going to eat for about 4 or 5 hours, then your ghrelin is going to be released and it's going to start this whole process. Okay. I also wanted to give you a little bit of information about the GLP-1 agonist medications out there. There are always a lot of questions about Ozempic and Wegovy. I do think they're good medications for the morbidly obese, because those people who've tried many, many, many things can't seem to kind of get that first jump, that first start. And so it's been a miracle drug for many, many people. But it's not the real answer to the problem, because there's so much more going on. There's emotional things to think about. There's what you're eating that we need to think about. There's stress management. There's activity. So, all of those things that we mentioned today are also very important. So, if you have any questions about what I've gone over today, please comment below. I would love questions or any comments that you have. All righty.